So in the previous videos, we touched on unemployment and FICA. And in this video, we're going to look at payroll taxes themselves. Now, we are going to get into the weeds as we proceed from this point forward, but I wanted to kind of touch on the main parts of payroll taxes so that you can kind of see what's going on here. And then we'll start diving into more specific definitions and the forms that you think we're supposed to be filling out, like W-4s and W-2s and 1040s and all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do in this video is look at strictly payroll taxes. Are we supposed to be paying payroll taxes, or is our employer supposed to be taking money out of our checks? So looking at this is all of our subtitles, and you can see that subtitle C is declared to be our employment taxes. So we're going to jump into there and take a look at what's in there. And this is where we have our FICA, which we've already covered, our unemployment, which we've already covered. And then you'll notice a couple railroad things that are in here. And then chapter 24 is our main part of our payroll taxes. And it says collection of income tax at source on wages. All right. So this is our income tax. So income is different than wages, but this is our income tax on wages. And if you go back and look at gross income defined in subtitle A, you'll notice that in fact, we can jump up here and look at that real quick. Let's see, it's going to be, I think 61 gross income defined, or this is our actual law. And you'll notice compensation for services, fees, commissions, benefits, gross income derived from business. I mean, you have to love how they define gross income as what they're defining, and they define it as gross income. Gains derived from dealing, interest, rents, royalties, dividends, and annuities, income from life insurance, pensions, income for discharge, distributive share, income respected decedent, or decedent, income from interest. You'll notice wages are not in here, and that's because this stuff covers all of the things that are outside of employment, and then employment is covered in the section that we're actually taking a look at now. So let's get back over here. All right, so we've gotten into there. We're looking at our section for the chapter 24, and we've got 3401, which is our definitions, and then 3402, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. 3402 is the main section that actually says that we're supposed to be paying this income tax on our wages. So let's see what it says. So 3402A1, it says, in general, except as otherwise provided in this section, every employer making payment of wages shall deduct and withhold upon such wages a tax determined in accordance with tables or computational procedures prescribed by the Secretary. Any tables or procedures prescribed under this paragraph shall. Now, based on what we already know, we have to look to see if they've defined things. You can't assume you know what an employer is. You can't assume you know what wages are. If they told you something different, we have to actually go with their definition. Well, it just so happens in 3401, which is where all their definitions are, they do define some of these things. So if we look, we're interested in knowing what an employer is, and it says making payment of wages. So that is something else that we probably should know what it is. So let's take a look. So in 3401D, we have the definition for an employer, which is the term employer means any person for whom an individual performs or performed any service of whatever nature as the employee of such person. Before we get to our new word, which is employee, let's take a look at what wages say. The term wages means all remuneration for services performed by an employee for his employer, unless specifically accepted under these sections. 3401C defines employee. For purposes of this chapter, The term employee includes an officer, employee, or elected official of the United States, a state, or political subdivision thereof, or District of Columbia, or an agency, any agency or instrumentality of any one or more of the foregoing. The term employee also includes an officer of a corporation. Now, before you think that this is kind of odd, which it is because we've always been told that an employee was us, I want to point something out. So there's only one section in the entire Title 26 that gives the IRS the authority to levy someone's wages or to take money out of their bank account or whatever things that they do. And they use this all the time. I want to point to two things. Number one, and this is something you kind of have to understand throughout the entire code, they go and they create a code section that makes this very broad claim that we tax all gross income for all individuals. But then as you start digging into the CFRs, or you find the code that tells you which form to fill out, or in all kinds of other deeper sections, you start to narrow down who it is that they're actually talking about. So when the IRS goes to the bank and they give the bank a notice that says that we're here to levy Glenn's checking account, and they hand them a piece of this notice. On the notice, it has this very broad claim. We have the authority to levy whatever for any tax that is owed. But the problem is that the very next sentence in the same code section, they don't give the bank. And I want to take a look at what that code section actually says, because it suspiciously looks like the definition of employee that they have supplied here. So let's take a look at section 6331, levy and distraint. And it says, levy may be made upon the accrued salary or wages of any officer. Let's see if I can't get both of these on the screen at the same. Well, there you go. Includes any officer, employee, there's employee, or elected official of the United States, a state. Now that is one piece that is included in the employee section that is not included in the levy thing. But let's see, where are we? Or any political subdivision thereof, or any agency or instrumentality of the United States, or the District of Columbia, or any agency instrumentality of any one or more of the foregoing. So you'll notice that the definition for an employee matches almost exactly the definition for the levy and restraint. So let's go. I want to just take a look at one thing here. Here, we'll do this first. We're going to jump over here. This is the paragraph that they actually give the bank. And you'll notice it's a very broad claim. If any person liable to pay any tax neglects. So the first thing is they would have to prove that you're liable to pay the tax, which we've already shown we're not. To pay any tax, neglects or refuses to pay the same within 10 days, it shall be lawful for the secretary to collect such tax and such further sum as shall be sufficient to cover the expenses of the levy by levy upon all property and rights to property, except such property as is exempt under section 6334 belonging to such person or on which there is a lien provided in this chapter for the payment of such tax. So this is what they give the bank or your employer. They do not, and I know this for a fact, they do not give the second sentence. So they only give the first sentence, they don't give the second. So you can see that there is a game at foot, and we're losing because we've not spent the time to actually go and look at these definitions. Now, I mentioned we're not done. We're going to continue, but hopefully at this point you're starting to see the bigger picture about what the taxes, these income taxes, are actually operating on. So what we're going to do from this point forward is we're going to start taking a look at, what is a W-9, what is a 1099, what's a W-4, what's a 1040. Who are the people that are supposed to be filling these things out, to kind of put the nail in the coffin. But I think we've already built the entire coffin at this point and shown without a doubt that the income taxes don't apply to any of us.